Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a great treat for you. Actually, we have two. We have Jose and Jesus again. You guys can pick, take your pick. And Jesus says you got to bob for him, kind of like you're bobbing for apples. This time you're bobbing for something else. So, welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Press the post notification bell. You know, all the YouTube things. Make sure you give these two a lot of views and a lot of comments because these two, once they talk tech, they never stop. But I'd like to introduce our two lovely guests. One has two ponytails. The other one looks normal. You get to pick. Ladies and gentlemen, the first guest we'll pick the MacBook is Jesus Almeda. And then we got the gardener-in-chief, our Windows guru. It's Jose Flores. What's up, gentlemen?
What's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, it's going good. It's going good. We got a lot to talk about. This might just have to be a multi-episode podcast because there is so much to delve into. We're going to be talking Apple because, Tim Cook has a way of making that company work, doesn't it? Or doesn't he? We're going to be talking Mac OS, and we're going to be talking about the ARM processors. We're going to talk about iPad OS and its processor and its stand in the market. We're going to be talking about iPhones and the cameras and the processors and Androids and all the things you guys want to talk about and all the things people want to hear about. So I figured we are going to start simple. We're going to let the Mac headline everything, so it'll be last because it's the most, I guess I could say, advanced. Maybe a lot of to talk about there. Let's go ahead and start off simple with the iPhone. So, the iPhone is coming out with the iPhone 14. 14 mini might not be the mini anymore. It might be, according to leaks from 9 to 5, Mark Gurman, Minchi Kuo, and all kinds of other people and all the YouTubers. It might be the iPhone 14 Max. You can believe it.
Or then 14 Plus, whatever
or 14
you may.
Plus. Oh.
Yes, that's another name that I hear is going around, that 14 Max or 14 Plus. A lot of people are saying that it's more probable that it's going to be 14 Plus because it's not really a Max. They're just still offering you the same thing as the regular 14 will. So I guess if they'd have a Max on it, I guess it's for max battery, I guess. So that's the only reason they would add it. But a lot of people are saying it's going to be most likely it's going to be Plus.
Okay. Our guru there. Yes. Okay. Then it'll go 14 Pro and then 14 Pro Max. I'm moving my mic because headphones got stuck. So the iPhone, they're playing around with names, but giving you very little features to look forward to in my book, in my opinion. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max at least is set to possibly have a 48 megapixel main sensor camera. The other three cameras, the telephoto, photo wide, and ultra wide, will only have your 12 megapixels. But the main camera on the front and your selfie camera will be 48 megapixels. Now, there are some features that it might have. They're talking about possibly getting rid of the notch. They're possibly talking about the Pros and Pro Max models at least having, instead of stainless steel edges, titanium edges, which I would really like. There's no reverse charging. Someone asked me that on Twitter the other day, and I said I haven't seen that. Androids have that, and it's really nice. Don't expect iPhone to have that. So before we get into
I'm sorry.
So before we get into it, into the iOS software update. Jesus, let me start with you. Are there features you're looking forward to, or is this another S year for iPhones where, oh my God, it's just a camera and maybe a couple changes to the design language?
For the actual iPhone itself, I'm really looking forward to the 14 Plus or Max, as it will be called, whichever one they give us. Because of the battery, I really don't need the extra pro features. I don't really care about the notch. I think that shit's like whatever to me. And I think a lot of people that are used to iPhones anyways, whether they could see or not, have gotten used to the looking notch. It doesn't even bother them. I have asked multiple people, and they're like, no, it doesn't even bother me. I don't even notice it anymore. So it's like a lot of people that are making a big deal out of it is just people that come from Androids and have those hole punch screens on them. Mm-hmm. And then they see this big ass notch and they're like, oh, I don't like that. How does iPhone still have this? It's like, but your average consumer of iPhones or any Apple device really does not care whether it has a notch or not. So that's my input on it.
And are there, even if it gets a smaller notch or they completely take it off, I do not think they're going to completely take it off. They might just make it smaller around the borders, a little smaller around where the receiver is. But are there any features you either are hoping they might have or that you heard of it having?
Well, not anything that I could say, oh my God, this is something that I would want on my phone. Actually, I'm kind of skipping this year's phone because I guess the only exciting thing is just the bigger 14, right? It's not really anything else that is exciting to me. Plus, it's rumored to have this year's chip instead of the A16 chip that is coming up. So, of course, it doesn't make any difference. The phone is still going to be incredibly fast. It's still going to be fine. It's just there's nothing really exciting for me. Unfortunately, yeah, you're right. It's not going to have any reverse charging. I really do think that is very unfortunate because that would be pretty bitching to have reverse charging, to just place your AirPods on top of your iPhone and just charge them, or somebody needs some battery and they have wireless charging on their phone. You can just place it on your phone and just kind of give them a little bit of power, So unfortunately, I don't see Apple doing that anytime soon, but I do think that would be a pretty nice feature to have.
And of course, I completely agree. I did forget to mention they are rumored to increase the sizes of the entire lineup, not just the Pros. Apparently, I did not write down the figures. I'm sorry, I just didn't write down the numbers. I was eating nachos and I didn't friggin' feel like it. So they're increasing the sizes of the phones. They're already very big. They're already actually kind of heavy. Does it make Jose? Does it make a difference that they're? Does it make sense to increase the size? Look at the 13 Pro Max. That sucker's huge.
The rumor I recently heard is that they're also increasing the battery size on most of them, except maybe the Pro Max. That one might actually be shrinking. So it would make sense to make it bigger, I guess. I don't know. I feel like it's right now the size is good enough. I don't really think anybody needs a bigger phone. Because as I said, they're big enough right now, and you increase the battery size, you make them bigger, they're gonna get heavier, of course.
And of course, if you put titanium edges, which is heavier than stainless steel, pretty much they're gonna get bigger. Is there any feature you're looking forward to, or the ones that I listed? Is it worth switching?
From what I heard, the base models aren't worth switching, like the 14 and the 14 whatever they decide to call it, since they'll have the same chips and basically the same hardware as the previous phones. So what it sounds like is they're basically the 13s with a new name. The Pros might be worth an upgrade if you're, I guess, looking forward to that camera, because that's the only big upgrade that they're getting. However, I did hear that even though it's going to be a 48 megapixel sensor, they're going to bunch them together, so it's really going to be the file size of a 12 megapixel picture. So I'm not sure how much better they would actually look. They would have more detail because they're more pixels. But at the same time, I don't know how much, how noticeable that would be. Oh, sure. Because it's basically a 12 megapixel camera photo, even though it has that many more pixels in it.
I think at the end of the day, I think it would have to be up to AI to see how it basically going with the picture, I do have a question for you guys though. Talking about big phones and so
like big things
and tight things too.
Mm.
But would you guys be okay having a bulky phone if it had a long-lasting battery? Like let's say they give you a phone. This phone is gonna last you a week worth of battery, but it was bulky as hell. It was really bulky, but it didn't really have the best camera, and the software was okay. Nothing like iOS, but it was all right. It was still usable, but the battery was amazing. Would you guys sacrifice that for the battery, or would you guys rather have a smaller battery but have the luxury of having a better software and maybe a better camera? Does that really matter to you guys?
I guess for me, it's more like a balance of things, Like if you buy a new phone, you want it to have the most up-to-date things, whether that's, a new camera, new processor, whatever. But at the same time, I feel like Apple has fallen in love with their 10-hour battery life, that it doesn't really seem like they're willing to go higher, at least not in the past couple years, because everything is like a 10-hour battery life. When they could, they could put a bigger battery, and say it's a 12 battery life phone. But for some reason, they'll just put more. If they put a bigger battery, they'll put more energy heavy hardware, I guess. Like when they switch to 5G, that will use more power. But instead of, increasing the battery size, I think they actually decreased it from the 11 to the 12.
Yeah, they did. They heavily decreased it, and they supposedly said that the software was going to take care of the power consumption of the phone. And that didn't work out as well as they thought it would. And that's why they made the bigger batteries.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can expand on that and what you and Jose said. What you and Jose said is, I mean, that is true. I remember when the 11 Pro, I loved the 11 Pro. 11 Pro was probably their last great phone. And I remember when I was hearing about the 12 coming out, I was excited for, hey, it's going to be magnetic. I can limit my use of accessories. Now I don't have to go to the store and have or go on a trip and have, I have my charger here and this brick here and this charger here and that charger here. You're telling me I could buy a MagSafe Duo charger, and like my phone is on this charger here, that MagSafe you see on the back, with a magnet, and just have those two things, and the MagSafe Duo will charge my watch and my phone, and I can take that on a trip and not have to worry. And if my AirPods need a charge, I can take off the phone for like 15 minutes, put the AirPods on there as I'm getting ready to leave, and they're charged. Sounds like a hell of a good sale to me. And of course the ProRes and the ProRes RAW and the ProRun, all of that. That for me as a YouTuber, that made sense to me. But when I heard, we're gonna shrink the battery and let technology, software, increase the power. Well, normally the way mechanics and engineering works, this isn't a laptop, okay? And usually, because of how much software you're adding and how much it's gonna render the CPU, you're gonna need a bigger battery. So I knew that was going to be a failure right away. Oddly enough, what's funny is the 12 mini has the worst battery in all iPhones, even completely to prior, and yet it's their best seller. Actually, no, is it 12 mini or 12? One of the two was a great seller for Apple.
No, it was the 12. The 12 mini was such a bad failure that's right. That's why they're basically canceling the mini product.
Yeah, I mean the 12 mini had even a shittier battery than the SE, and that's pretty amazing. The fact that
cheaper phone had the better battery. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy that the SE had a better battery than a phone that literally just came out. It's just crazy, and the fact that they made the battery smaller, considering they even added 5G, is kind of like, damn, bro, why would you do that?
Well, that's true. And I'm pouring a soda. So, it is true. And you're also thinking, okay, well, why am I going to buy your 12 mini with that bad of a battery. This is a topic that comes up with the watches too. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, my Samsung watch has a whole week. I don't have to charge it." Okay, but does it have blood oxygen monitoring and ECG and heart rate and workout, and can it read diabetic CPAC scanners, and does it count and does it and you go down the list? I agree the watch needs a better battery, but you have to realize that the watch market is kind of new in terms of the smartwatch market. Really 2013, 2014, 2015, especially when Apple Music was coming out, it was really just starting out. With an iPhone, I would look, and I know you were kind of hinting towards Android there. I would not like a bulkier phone if my phone is going to have less of a processor, less of a camera, less features. Everybody wants more features, and unfortunately, you're going to have to take less of a battery life than you want because of all those features. However, I think Apple is one of those companies. It has some of the best leading technology, and they underutilize it, but they could create and craft a battery that is that. Hey, let's increase it to 13 to 15 hours. Let's start there. Let's go higher. Look, they are in love with their 10-hour battery life. They need to, I would say, go up to 12 or 13. My iPhone's what do I have? I have the 12 Pro. This sucker lasts me a good 12, 13 hours. Which, if you think about it, that's how long you're out. That's how long you're at work. That's how long you're on the go. That's how you're on the train. You're on the subway. You're on the bus. That's how long. And now, people usually, now you can get a tiny little wallet-sized battery charger, like a portable charger. And yes, now you have to carry a USB-C cable in your pocket now. And you have to, okay, but there's accessories you can use now. So for me, I'd rather have all the features. That's what makes the iPhone so good. It's what made the iPhone amazing in the first place when it started collapsing the keyboard market. So, aside from, I think for me, I mean, the camera, yes, it is great to have a 48 megapixel camera. And like Jose said, look, I think the reason they're gonna make it the size of a 12 megapixel is because you don't want to fill up your phone it's gonna be a lot if everything is a 48 megapixel size, right? A file size. I am curious, as Jose said, I agree with him on, is it gonna look like a 48 megapixel camera, or do you have to adjust something? If I'm on my Mac, do I have to throw it into DaVinci? Do I have to throw it into LumaFusion? Or do I have to throw it into Adobe or Final Cut and go, okay. The one thing that it is lacking. Well, actually, before we go there, who should upgrade to the 14 Pros at least? Jose, I'll start with you. Who in the market should be upgrading to a 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max?
Honestly, I think anybody who has anything less than an iPhone 12, because you do need that 5G now that companies are actually starting to
they're building.
They're building it. They're building out. They're finally building it out. So 5G is more important now than it was, what was it, like 2 years ago when the 12 came out? Because now you can actually find it in places, no matter what carrier you have, except maybe AT&T. I don't think their 5G is quite there yet. But yeah, so if you have anything that doesn't have 5G, maybe upgrade to the 14 Pro. If not, I would suggest maybe the 13. The regular ones if you don't want to go Pro. Because, they'll be cheaper since the 14s come out. And it's basically going to be around the same phone spec-wise. So I would say go for the 13 since it would be cheaper. Or go for the 14 Pro. I really don't see any reason to go for the regular 14.
You're saying if someone has the 12, go for the 13
if
Pro.
someone has anything older than a 12, like an 11.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because 12s do have 5G. The battery is pretty, it's not great, but it's still usable. So, maybe wait for the 15 if you have the 12, I would say.
Yeah, and I think if you have a terrible battery like the 12, then you might want to. And by the way, that my mom has the 13 Pro. I'm so jealous. And you know, that speaker, it's loud. If her door's closed and my door's open, you know, Jesus, you've seen my house. You've seen how far her room is from mine. I don't know if you remember. I can
Never been
hear
to
what
her
she's
room, bro.
playing on her phone. And I can hear it most likely clearly. Literally clearly. It is an incredible speaker. And the display, it is beautiful. That's where I think Apple made huge bank, was that display was, and I look at my mom's and I'm like, oh my God. That's crazy. There's one thing though. Well, actually, Jesus, do you agree with Jose's assessment there of who should be going to the 14 Pro?
I mean, I think it's people that are used to 120 refresh hertz displays. I think Apple calls it promotion or something like that. So I think people that are really used to that kind of stuff and that really want that, I think that would be a good option for them. But as far as 5G, yeah, I think, you know, you can go with any of the base models, you know, with the 14 or 14, whatever they're going to call it. Or, you know, the camera, of course, the 48 megapixel, they're probably only going to add it to the pro versions. I guess if the notch really matters to you heavily and you really are bothered by the notch, then yeah, I guess the pros would be the ones to get. But apart from that, I don't know. Like I don't see any other reason why to switch to the pros. But I'm sure once we see the event in September, we will see what actually is true and what's not true, and see if there's any more reasons to switch. You know, so I'm really excited for that.
I'll tell you what. Well, I'm not excited, and I'll tell you why. The event is just gonna be, oh my God, the camera, and that's all people are gonna take away from it. Because and I don't blame them. The average consumer, that's what they're concerned about. People like us, we're concerned about, okay, well, does it have the notch? Does it have this? We're going down the list going, okay, well, give me these few things. So these are most likely 99% not going to have USB-C. Phil Schiller in 2012 said, we're introducing Lightning. It's going to be here for the next decade. However, under Tim Cook, who is the worst CEO, I think, of the tech market, well, aside from Google's, for a lot of reasons, they're trying to push USB-C and make it go to like another decade if they can. Jose, I'm gonna come to you here. This has been a giant debate. Europe is coming after Apple on the App Store. They're coming after them on their price hikes, which, God, if they could actually pass a law there, yeah, and right to repair, and they are coming after them on a lot. They also just made a ruling on USB-C, right?
Yes.
So explain that if you can.
So I think basically what it comes down to is they're going to force every device to be USB-C starting 2024, I believe. So every device has to be USB-C, whether it's a phone, laptop, headphones, you know, those kind of devices. I do think they're going to give laptops a little longer, from what I heard. But basically, they want all devices to kind of, you know, use one cable for everything, which should cut down on, you know, what supposedly Apple cares about, which is the environment, which is the reason they stopped, you know, giving their chargers out with their phones.
So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, so basically that's what it is. That's what the ruling is. So if you want to sell anything in Europe that is that kind of device, it would have to be USB-C, and it could have another type of charger as well if you want. Like, you know, some of these laptops have like a separate charger where it's fast charging or whatever, but they have to have USB-C. They have to be compliant with that.
Well, and USB-C has faster data transfer speeds and even just communication speeds and all of that. And I mean, a lot of people don't. I hate. I hate having a mixture of, well, this drive is USB. Well, this trackpad is Lightning. Well, this iPad is USB-C. This is USB, and this is Lightning. And it's like, I think Europe is trying to say, like, look, the entire industry is already moving. You already do this with your MacBooks and the headphones, the Beats headphones. They already do it anyway. So why are you?
So do the
and your
iPads.
iPad.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said, so do the new iPads. They're all USB-C.
Yep. From the iPad Air 5 and on. I don't remember about the iPad Air 4, does it? I don't know if the iPad Air 4. I don't think so. Does. I think it does. So the iPad Mini 5th gen. Is it 5th or 6th, Jose?
It's the 5th one.
It's the 5th. I'm like, I don't know. The iPad Mini 5th, iPad Airs 4 and 5, and iPad Pros all use USB-C. We're going to go into the iPads later, but it makes no sense that my iMac is USB-C, has Thunderbolts, but then my trackpad, you have to connect using a USB to Lightning, not even USB-C to Lightning. And then the part that goes into the port on the trackpad is USB-C. It's Lightning. And then you go to my phone and, oh, look, Lightning. AirPods, Lightning. The Duo charger, Lightning. It's just a problem when everything else is USB-C. And it creates a big problem. Now, Apple made the argument that, well, it ruins innovation and it can't be harmful.
The thing about
the bricks.
The thing about innovation is, what have they done to improve Lightning? They haven't increased its transfer speeds or anything. So, that's a 10-year-old technology right there. So, What's innovative about that?
What they're saying is that this iPhone's not going to have USB-C because they already started working on this iPhone for a couple of years now. So what they are saying is by next year's iPhone, they are speculating that it will have USB-C because supposedly they found something in the code of the software.
Well, I mean, if they're going to want to sell them in Europe, they're going to have to be USB-C.
So, yeah, I guess they could do that, but I don't think they're going to make separate phones just for Europe and then for the US. I think that could be more expensive for them. So I think if they are going to do it, they're going to do it for everybody. So, and going back to the event, I get why you're not excited. I know I'm falling off topic here. But I'm really curious if they're going to come out with some new AirPods. I'm really looking forward to maybe some new AirPods coming out on some Pros. So hopefully hopefully there is that in the event. The iPhone, is whatever. It's the same thing every year. New cameras, whatever. It's the greatest iPhone yet. That's basically the topic of the whole thing. It's just, but I do hope the watch has something better. I don't really have hope for it, but hey, they could surprise us. But I really do hope for a new pair of AirPods Pros because I don't know, these AirPods Pro, man, they're really, really faulty. They sound good, they sound great, but at least, and I've heard this a lot of times, that a lot of people have had to replace them at least once after you purchase them.
I'm possibly gonna have to replace mine, and I don't want to because they don't connect. I had problems where the right one will not connect. I literally see that it's connected, and I'll press connect it again on the, I'll tap on it, and still won't. I'll have to plug in the left AirPod in my left ear for it to connect. And then there's the other problem where now with new Macs and iPhones and not with the AirPods, they'll switch from, oh, you're using your Mac, great. Oh, you're gonna go to your phone. Okay. But I noticed that if, like, when I am live, sometimes I'll click on the YouTube video that I'm live on, and it just to make sure it's working, and it'll, instead of staying on the Mac, it'll go to the iPhone, and then when I go back to the Mac, it won't go back, and I have to manually do it. On the watch OS 9 looks good. I'm curious about the medication, where it'll remind you about your medication and it'll tell you, like, hey, you need to take this dose at this time and this time, and some new things with maps. I'm curious about that. But going back to this USB-C thing, they might be making them next year to say, fine, we'll go to Lightning. And yeah, they're not going to say, well, our Europe manufacturers are just going to make the phones for Europe, because they also need the Europe manufacturers to make the phone for the US. And also, you have your assembly lines working. Are you really going to double up your have one assembly line working on USB-C to Lightning and one on USB-C to USB-C? It makes no effing sense. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
And-
if they did that, and I was actually going to upgrade, I would just try to get a European phone. Skip the American version.
And then you have to worry about, okay, we got it from Europe, but then did they make the technologies different? Did they lower standards? Did they is Apple gonna go, you're a US market person, you're a US user, you got a Europe phone? Nope. Because you know what Apple's gonna they're gonna do that. And I mean, what was so cool about Lightning when it came out? I could use it on my iPad and on my iPhone, and I could use the same charger. On the iPad, you can't do that. If I want to charge my phone with the iPad charger, I can't do that. Now, there's a rumor that it might just come out with the iPhone 16, but there's also a part where they might go portless. The problem with going portless is, what's the problem with wireless charging? The technology and the speeds just aren't there yet.
They're not going portless anytime soon. I don't think until the iPhone 16, iPhone 17. I don't think I can see it then. Maybe the technology by then it's more, how do you say it? Improved, advanced. Yeah. There you go, advanced. But I don't see them doing it in the next two phones.
But do you think they're going to do it as a FU, middle finger like this to? I literally put the middle finger up to Europe, like FU. We're going portless.
They could potentially, but if they do switch to USB-C and they give those people those cables, it's going to basically do the same problem that Europe is trying to avoid, which is causing harm to the environment. So I don't know. That's going to be a very, tricky situation for them, because they're going to have to tread very carefully with that. Because if Europe is doing it for the environment, Apple really has to.
I don't think they're doing it for the environment.
I don't think that's the reason they're doing it. I think that's just like a bonus,
I think it's more for uniformity, right?
Yeah, so everybody, it's for
everybody has the same
more
thing.
Compatibility between devices.
Yeah, exactly. And you're thinking, why are you gonna have all? Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. And is it?
Well, if you have like a laptop, an iPad, an iPhone, some headphones, whatever, and all those are using different cables, and you just switch that to one cable, how much, you're saving all that space and all that environment. You're saving those resources for other things.
If I had USB-C on my phone right now, I could charge my Mac, I can charge my phone, and I can charge my vape with the same cable. So it's like,
well, actually, on that, did I text you or Jose? I made a mistake where, because sometimes USB-C cables kind of feel the same. Both my USB-C cables for the Mac and the iPad are really freaking long. They're about the same. My dumbass charged my iPad with my Mac charger. It overheated so bad. It was hot. It was so hot. And I was like, at first I didn't get it. I'm like, I'm not rendering photos on this. I'm not editing. I'm just using regular apps, not watching videos. And even if I did that, it never got, I could feel it through the case, the keyboard case. Man, it was horrible. And then I was like, where's my Mac charger? Right there. So I think Apple's going to make it to where, no, you can't charge your Mac with this. Or no, you can't. They're gonna try and because they do want you to buy more chargers to charge your things. As someone, I don't remember what Gerard Shapiro from Taylor Swift Tech said. They're gonna try and upsell you on everything because, like, we'll get to the cheapest model of the iPad 10th gen. It's $329 right now, the 9th. Where does Apple make their money? The Apple Pencil, the folio cases, the this, or that. That's where they make their money. and that they're gonna try and make it to where if you charge your Mac with this iPad charger, it'll A, be slower, B, it'll overheat your Mac. You charge your phone with your Mac charger or your iPad charger, your phone's gonna really overheat and you could destroy it. And they'll do it on purpose. I see them doing that for sure.
Well, if they do, the only thing they'll do, it would be like a software lock where, they won't let your Mac charger connect to your iPad because the wattage is too high or something. And I could see them doing that where the software will lock it out for it won't charge, maybe.
That's true. I just don't know. I just don't see it.
I don't see them doing it the other way around, though, because, even if you're charging your Mac with a 20-watt charger, it should still charge somewhat. Just very slowly.
I charge my phone with a 60-watt.
Did it overheat or anything?
No, it was fine.
Well, the software is supposed to take care of that. It's supposed to only get how much it could, realistically
Exactly.
use.
My iPad was overheating to the max. And I remember I took it off the case. When you're out in the sun and it is really hot and your phone kind of heats up, it kind of hurt to touch the iPad. So they need to take care of that. Let's switch to iOS 16. There are a lot of great features. I am using the beta right now. I'm not sure if you guys are. You can now customize your lock screen. You can put different apps and which apps will notify you. Your notifications will come down from the bottom, which is really cool. You can put different wallpapers. You can do Apple Pay Later, which is basically like having virtual credit. So if I wanted to buy my box of donuts, but I really didn't want to pay the whole price of $16 or whatever it is, I can pay over 6 weeks, and it's basically like a loan. There is new Apple CarPlay features especially with the virtual keys. 11 more states have been added to the license and ID feature virtually. And there are some more features with maps. Of course, there's a lot of new features. I just cannot remember. From the WWDC event or videos you've watched after, I'll start with you, Jose. Are there any features in iOS 16 that you are looking forward to?
Well, honestly, I haven't seen too many rumors about that. So I wouldn't know what rumors are coming up. So I would have to look into that to see what supposedly is coming out. But honestly, my biggest issue with their software is I'm having some glitches with it, so I just want it to be more stable. It seems like every time they release a new version, it's not that stable.
I mean, and it's every time, like, I remember iOS 15.3 came out, and it was in December, and everyone hated the update. And the one thing my brother does, and I hate that a whole hell of a lot of Apple employees will do this, we'll just don't do the update. We'll just leave Apple. We'll just go get another phone. Mother effers, you're not getting the problem. And even if iOS 16 comes out, it's the most stable software. 16.1, 16.2, 3, whatever they release, it's going to be horrible. Watch.
But you know whose fault that is, though?
Whose?
It's the consumer's fault. Why?
Okay.
It's because a lot of consumers let this shit pass. They let it fly a lot. Look at the things they're doing with the iPhones. And the glitches you're having with the software. A lot of people were like, well, I just do this and it goes away. Or I just restart my phone and it just goes back to normal. Like, a lot of consumers are not caring anymore like they used to. So Apple's just kind of coasting through the fact that, oh, well, we can do whatever, and the consumers are just not going to care. So I think in our reality, the ones who are at fault are the consumers, because they're just letting Apple slide with all of this and not really making Apple try like they used to, give you the best software they possibly can. I'm not saying that back in the day when Steve Jobs was, around, they didn't have glitches, because they did. It's just lately, I just think that the software hasn't been as stable as, you know, people that started with iPhones are, used to. I started with the 5C, and the software back then was incredible. I liked the software. It was nice. It wasn't glitchy. It worked. As soon as it hit iOS 8, though, dude, I just started having so many problems with iOS 8. Like sometimes my phone would become unusable because I just couldn't use VoiceOver. Which is I use VoiceOver constantly. So if I can't use my phone, what is the point of having one?
iOS 7 was like that too because they let a designer design the software, which is not what you're supposed to do.
Johnny Ive is the one that designed that one.
Yeah. And Johnny Ive is great. And he made Apple what it is. And now he has his company and Apple is the main client. So we really have not left the Johnny Ive design era. It's just he just doesn't work for Apple. He has his own company. He actually spoke at the NFB convention in 2019, which was even funnier. iOS 7 was bad. iOS 8 was bad. iOS 12 was ridiculous. My phone would slow down like crazy.
I think iOS 6 was an incredible software. I think iOS 6 is one of the best ones.
Well, I mean, if we're done with the iPhone talk, do you guys want to proceed to the iPad?
Yeah,
well, actually, I did have one thing. I want to talk to cameras because Jesus and I were having this debate. Right now, look, and we were talking about, is the file size going to be a 48? No, it's going to be a 12. Right now, if I go on vacation, the Apple says you can take great photos, and the photos on vacation are magnificent. They are glorious. They are the things you can do with this camera are magnificent. They are beyond awesome. No matter what you do with how incredible this phone is, an Android phone can take better pictures in some ways because of how high the megapixels are. Now, Apple's taking care of that with 2 of its models, not all. But for me, I think there are other phones. For example, the Android phones can zoom out to 100 times versus the iPhone, which can only zoom out to 30. The iPhone does, like when you take a picture, it's snappy. Androids, even the Samsung Galaxy S120 and 122 or S22 Ultra, they're not as snappy, and they don't capture fabrics as well as, say, the iPhone does. The iPhone has more natural effects, so it's not look like if you take a picture of something red, it's not like I painted it red or whatever. It's natural colored. It's not manufactured, whereas Android cameras do manufacture it. However, I can take a picture with a regular digital camera and it'll still be better in terms of resolution than, say, a regular photo from my iPhone, no matter what kind of feature on the iPhone I use. So, Jesus, I'll come to you first just because we were talking about this. I mean, what are your thoughts here? Can Apple really can they improve? Can they compete based on those features I just listed?
All right, so first of all, like I told you in the text messages, I think a standalone camera is basically uncomparable to any phone, whether it be Android or iPhone at this time, just because cameras are not to that point yet where you can just drop your standalone camera and just use your phone. But on the Android side, yes, you can zoom out and you can zoom in as much as you possibly can, as 100 times or whatever. But it does ruin the quality of the picture. It does ruin the quality, and also the Androids, especially the Samsung Galaxy 22 Ultra, that one, well, it doesn't work very well at night. The iPhone tends to capture more light and environment light into the camera, so it uses all of that to its potential. The Samsung does not do that very well, and it's like if you move your hand a lot, it doesn't have great stabilization as the iPhone does at night. So that's 2 of the differences that they have. Can Android fix that? Possibly they can. I think the one that really has a chance of doing it is Samsung, if anybody does. Of course, you have all the other third-party ones like Huawei and all those that are doing incredible things with the cameras. But again, the software also has to do a lot with that, just because they are different softwares, different UIs than your average Samsung or anything like that, the OnePlus or any very well-known Android manufacturers. So I think they both have their pros and cons. I think you'll be just fine with a Samsung if you have it. I don't think you'll be suffering too much. I think a lot of people can be happy with that. And I think a lot of people could be happy with their iPhones. I think phones have come to a place where it kind of settled down. We're kind of coasting now. There's only so much you can do with these devices now that is really going to put consumers like in, oh my God, this is a new thing that I want this and I want this now. Like when the first iPhone came out, that I don't think we're going to have that kind of moment in a very long time again. Because like I said, devices, the iPhones, the phones, just smartphones in general have basically just come to a point where it's just, like I said, it's just coasting.
It's the same thing.
I think until the foldables really come into play, maybe that could be a game changer. If Apple came up with the foldable phone, I think people would be hell of excited for that phone, honestly.
Going back
because no doubt. And honestly, the reason I say you'll be happy with both of them is just because I'm actually thinking of switching to Android myself. Just because I'm kind of tired of iPhone. I'm kind of tired of the glitches. Of course, they say you may have more glitches on Android, but I don't know. I'm kind of tired of the same thing, same iOS, same everything. It's just the same, bro. Like, as a person that loves tech, I just need something new, something more exciting, something that's going to give me that excitement of exploring a new software, excitement of learning new things. Like that's what I want out of a phone, and I'm not really getting that with my iPhone anymore.
Are you worried about the fracturedness? Like you were telling me over text that about, social media they're not going to adapt to 25,000 different cameras, 280 different cameras. They're going to say, here's our resolution, screw it, go with it. Right. And I mean, look at carriers with Android. Carriers can decide, I'm not going to give you this software. This new software update. The phone manufacturers can decide, I don't want Android's new update. And Android's never going to force people to do it. They're more about, do it if you want. So yeah. My Android phone can be slower than your Android phone. My carrier might allow me to get your carrier might allow you to get the update. My AT&T might tell me, sucker, F you. Right? Are you prepared for all that?
I think it's also part of the excitement.
Okay.
Kind of discovering this, knowing what it is, because I don't want to stay with, what ifs, what if I did this? What if I did that? I kind of want to go into it and just taking whatever comes with it, and, hopefully, hoping that next year, if I don't like the Android, I have the money to get an iPhone and, go back to that. But honestly, what I would probably do is not trade in my iPhone and just keep it just in case I do not like the Android. You know what I mean? And I could just switch back to iOS. But yeah, I am prepared for all that. What I'm really concerned about, what really it's kind of stopping me from doing that is, of course, just like anybody, their fucking ecosystem, iMessage, fucking FaceTime, and the Apple Watch, and all that bullshit. Like,
Pay and
it's like all that. Honestly, that's the only thing that's keeping me here more than the actual, things that could happen to me with Android, because I was using TalkBack the other day on my mom's old phone, and they take you through a fucking tutorial on how to do what, like copy and paste, how to go through pages, how to click on something, how to, they take you through a whole tutorial on how to use the phone. So I think TalkBack is actually getting pretty up there, compared to iOS. Of course, I haven't tried everything, so I can't really say, oh my God, it's the same thing. But I am willing to explore it and see what comes out of it. Like,
You could add it to a line, and instead of deactivating the iPhone, you could
Right.
add it. It's a little more pricey, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, especially because that's an older phone, you could use that instead of having to buy a new Android. Because with Android, you have to ask yourself, do I want a Pixel? Do I want this? Do I want the Google Pixel 6? Do I want this Android phone here? Do I want that thing here? Do you think that iPhones can get to a regular camera, and do you think they'll stop playing catch up with Android?
Great question. I think iPhones can get to a regular camera. I think Apple, since they don't actually make camera themselves, I think they are going to do that. They are going to try to make it into a standalone camera because the reason, because going into the iPad, but not going into it, but like the reason the iPad hasn't become a laptop or a computer, even though it's more than capable of doing it, is because they're still selling Macs. They can't do that because they still need to get the revenues from Macs. So
We're gonna go into that actually.
so if the same thing comes with the phones, Apple doesn't make cameras, so why not make it into a standalone camera? That way, they're going to get a lot more people buying iPhones and putting down their Sonys or their whatever they're using at the time.
It's Nikon.
So it's like, why not? So I think that could be a thing about catching up with Android. Yeah, I think they're going
widgets. Look at them.
to be.
You've been able to customize your lock screen with Android for over 8 years. You've been able to do widgets for over 10 years. Now you can do widgets. Now you can do widgets on your lock screen. Now you can do widgets on your iPad. You've been able to do widgets on Android tablets and phones. You've been able to customize your lock screen. There's a lot of things that you still don't have reverse charging.
And the thing is that I hear from a lot of Android consumers that have dabbled into the iPhone, that the widgets are not even close to what they are on Android. So yeah, they have widgets, but nothing compared to what Android is. You can do so much with the widgets on Android that you just can't on the iPhone as yet. Because we don't have a lot of third-party apps on their widgets. We have very few. A lot of those apps are from Apple. A lot of the widgets are from Apple. News, calendar, weather, music. Spotify, yeah, they have one, but it's very simple. It's simplistic. It's not really much with it. Google Maps has one, but which is cool, and I like the widget for Google Maps, but you don't really have a lot of third-party apps working with widgets right now. I don't know if that's up to Apple or developers. I really don't know what's up with that, but Androids have a lot more widgets from third-party apps and stuff like that work with them that iPhone just doesn't do as yet.
Right. And that's true. Jose, I mean, can Apple catch up? Apple iPhones catch up to a regular Nikon and Sony and all those Canons? And of course, there are different types. You can get a $500 Nikon. It won't be the same as a $900 Nikon. I've seen them. I've worked with them. They are incredible. And also, is Apple going to catch up to other Android devices? What's your take?
I guess my take would be that phone cameras right now are probably good enough no matter what phone you get. Like, we could talk about how, the iPhone captures the details or those details, but at the end of the day, you grab an iPhone, an Android, they're going to take good pictures. Yeah, you can nitpick these things or those things, but it's a phone camera, I can't expect, $1,000 standalone camera for this phone to compare to that, and I don't know if they will get to that point, but for what you use a phone for, I don't really think you need to get to that point, because those kind of cameras, you get in the thousands for cameras.
Yep.
That's more for like professional photographers,
Right.
And a professional photographer is not going to use their phone for, a camera because, they know all the settings, they know their preferred camera and they know exactly how they like their settings. And the phone cameras just don't do all that, Yeah, you could do a couple things, but it's not like what a standalone camera can do. So I think that
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that the phones, they're good enough right now. I don't, I'm not a professional photographer or anything, so, but, I could grab my phone, take a picture, and it'll be good enough,
And you have different settings you can mess with too. I mean, I could let me fix my filter here. Let me fix the light. Let me change the angle. Let me do this. Let me do that. There's 1,000, probably 10,000 different settings you could do on iPhone's camera alone. And it's like I don't have to take. Back in the 2000s, my family would have to take like my brother had his digital camera, my dad had his camera, and he put the little strap over his shoulder, and he would have to. And you would have to do. Now I can do all that with an iPhone, and I can share it to Facebook, and people can write comments. I can write captions. I can do. But again, with these phones and their cameras, you have to take it like they are great cameras, but you still have to take them into DaVinci Resolve and Affinity Photo and Procreate and all these different apps in order to get those kinds of get the pixels you want, get the photo aperture that you want, get the colors you want, get the schemes you want. And of course, with a 48 megapixel camera, it makes it easier to where you don't have to make as many adjustments because people are having to go increase it by 3 times just to get even close to doing all that. And now you don't have to. It'll be 2 megapixels behind Android phones like the Samsungs which are at 50 megapixels. 48 over 50, right? Do you think that is it that the technology just isn't there yet for a phone to catch up to an Icon or a Canon or a Sony? Or is it maybe companies are going, our cameras are good enough. Most customers are not YouTubers who need to take it into DaVinci and Adobe and photo editors and Photo Editor Pro or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's probably more use case, like people who use their phones don't need, the same quality as someone who's, a professional photographer. And, companies try to do, to the least common denominator, to save as much money as possible. So they're not going to put, $1,000 camera equipment worth of stuff in your phone if, that applies to that applies to 2% of their customers,
And they have softwares that I can get camera 360.
Well, that's what the thing is. They have these, most of it is because, their pixels are like, they have a 12 megapixel camera. Everything else is software, the processor processes these pictures to make it look as good, as an Android with a fixed 50 megapixel camera. And you could compare them, but as I said, they're pretty much the same thing. Of course you could nitpick, the color accuracy here or, some detail got lost there. But, you could tell what that picture is at the end of the day.
And I think most consumers just carry their phones everywhere. I don't think they're going to really... I remember back then when my parents always just carried a digital camera. It was kind of like this... It wasn't big. It was kind of like... It was just a digital camera with a little screen and you would take pictures. Or just the fact that now you can take your phone and just do the exact same thing. And like Jason said, just share it everywhere. It's pretty amazing how we have it now. Compared to the time in 2007, 2008, 2006, around those times where cameras at those times were not very great on phones, even when you had your flip phones and it had video phones and stuff like that, or, your NV1s, NV2s with the cameras on it. They weren't very good, per se. But how far technology has come to in cameras these days, it's gone far.
Yeah, and I mean, in 2006, my dad we went to Camp Bloomfield, which was the most amazing camp ever. They did Camp Bloomfield still, but it's at a different location. I'm like, shut up. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. It'll get me mad. The viewers are used to me being mad, but not on technology like this. We used to go to camp, go to Disney, and my dad at camp would take his photo printer, the photo printer, and then you'd hook up the camera either to your computer or the printer and buy the photo paper, the film paper. But it wasn't, it was like that, and it wasn't like the photo ray, the what is it called, the Polaroid film. It was just like a regular picture, right? But you'd print it, and that's what he would do, or he would take it, put it on his computer, and edit them, or then put it on CDs, or you'd print it, and that's how you would do it now. And now it's crazy. Now you have these little $30 printers. I don't know if you guys knew this. They're like little Canon printers, and they're like $30, and you just connect via Bluetooth, and it comes with a set of paper, and you print. I'm going. My little cousin uncle actually tried that, and I'm like, he told me, I'm like, wait, you're doing what? And for me, I was like, I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I'm going, are you taking me back to 2003?
Well, I remember that we used to just buy the disposable cameras, when you would go on vacation, and just take them somewhere to get them developed,
You take them to Walgreens.
Or like the other cameras that took the film, the actual film, and then you have to go take it out of the camera, take the film to them. It takes like about a week for you to get your pictures, and then you have to pick out the pictures that actually look good and the ones that don't, and
you can't put a filter.
Yeah,
and they were the cheap places. Like they're not really professional photo editors, so you couldn't go, hey, can you? There was none of that. You had to kind of. I
got my shot Save-On, bro, before Save-On became CVS, bro.
Oh, is that what it was before CVS? Damn.
Yeah, Save-On, yeah. Save-On Drugs, I think that's what it's called. So I used to get my there, so like sometimes, I remember my parents or my family, they would like have to take a ton of pictures of the same thing just in case one of them didn't come out right. Just because... you have to nitpick on what the fuck you want to do.
If those pictures were good enough, and our cell phones could take better pictures, then I don't know what the issue is,
Yeah. Well, and I remember the disposable ones. My dad would be like, here. Yeah, I would have like little field trips for school, and he'd go. I was like 7, 8. He'd be like, here, Mijo, take this, and then we'll print it later. And it had like 10 photos. You could take. So I had to really be careful of what I wanted. Because right now I could take 80 photos on one trip and not, whatever. Unless it says, oh, your iPhone storage is full, which mine says that a lot now. Should have gone for the 512. Fuck. Anyway, back then it's like 10, 20 photos and you're done. And then you couldn't take pictures. So yeah, I think that I was just curious about that, because that's a huge discussion right now, and it's the main selling point for companies. It's the camera. I mean, iPhone comes out with such good features you actually will never hear about. You will never hear about it. Tim Cook won't even talk about the products. He'll summarize them. He sends it off to Craig, and then we'll hear from some girl named Holly and Tally and Marky Mark and Jackson, whatever, Sigmund Freud. And they'll talk about the chip, and they'll talk about the camera, and then they'll go, and there's these 20 other features we're not going to talk about.
I mean, yeah, we don't find out until we actually have the phones, and then people start discovering new. But at the same time, I think it's cool seeing the other people that have worked on the device, on the software, tell you about the software or the device directly, as they're the ones that actually developed it and worked on it, instead of somebody else who was just on the sidelines. Especially with Tim Cook, honestly, to be honest with you, I'd rather have other people explain it to me than his ass, because just the way he talks, it's just very annoying to me.
Good morning. Apple has great tools that help the regular consumer. Sorry.
It's just fucking annoying, just how the way he talks. It's like, dude, you should have been a fucking professor, bro. At a fucking preschool, that's what you should have been.
I would not attend that class. Good morning, students. Oh, whatever. Well, good morning to him. Steve Jobs. No one will ever replace Steve Jobs. Even though he didn't really develop the software, he had this vision. The way he spoke, it has this many. You can take the camera and do this. If you render it this way, it has this specs, and this. Here's how it works. He literally could understand it, and the way he said it, it was like, wow. It's like he actually was in the Apple headquarters coding this. You know what I mean?
Well, he was
And-
very involved with the teams, very involved. I don't think Tim is as involved as Steve Jobs was at the time.
He's too busy doing interviews and fucking being everywhere, being famous. Steve Jobs rarely did interviews, and now as an idolizer of Steve Jobs, I wish he did more. But then I realized he was busy making our products amazing. Braille screen input, FaceTime. You know. Oh, by the way, I'm excited for unsending a message and editing a message after you send it, and of course, share play and messages. I'm sorry, I just had to go over that. But I mean, I was just curious about that.